Hello, and welcome to the Cycle Starters podcast. This podcast is made just for you if you're breaking intergenerational patterns and turning ancestral wounds into creative potential, embodied joy, and intergenerational abundance. I am your host, Heather Rebecca Wilson, and I am passionate about ancestral healing and growth, as well as astrology and pleasure as transformative medicine. And I'm here to help elevate your consciousness and promote more joy in your life. So I truly believe everyone can become a cycle starter, reshaping their lineage and fostering growth and healing. So today, I am so excited to introduce you our special guest, Shayan Saghari. And I'm going to read your bio, and then we're going to get into our conversation. Okay?
Sounds good.
Awesome. So Shayan is a breathwork and embodiment facilitator. Her mission is to help you calm your nervous system so you can stay on assignment.
Yep.
I love it. So concise, so straight to the point.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling these days. I'm kind of tired of a lot of the fluff. And so I just want to give people what it is that they want and what I want. And I want to help you stay on assignment.
All right. Well, so before we start talking about your awesome workshop that is inside the Ancestral Healing Collective monthly membership resource library, I want to ask, what is your ancestry?
Oh, so already this question is like so complicated for me. It's like complicated and simple. The short answer is I'm Persian. The longer answer is my ancestors come from Iran. Literally everyone in my ancestry before me is from there. My parents, they were immigrants. I was the first one born in the United States. And it gets complicated in the Middle East, especially in Iran. There's a lot of different ethnicities, even within our one country, but we're like 99% sure that we're Persian.
Okay, awesome. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. Well, so your offering that's inside the resource library, and for those of you who don't know, I am an ancestral healing guide, and I work in DEI as a consultant and a trainer. And I also have this membership called the Ancestral Healing Collective, and it is a sacred space for female-bodied cycle breakers and cycle starters to alchemize deep ancestral wounds into creative potential, shifts to higher consciousness, and embodied joy using astrology and pleasure as medicine. So every month, they get access to a new moon pleasure practice and dance party, as well as a guest expert workshop. And Shayan was our first guest expert, at the launch of the membership back in May of 2023. So her workshop is called Emotions and the Body, Understanding the Science and Mechanics of Our Emotions. So how did you get to this place where you wanted to share that offering, right? And share your unique medicine in this way? What's your journey been?
Yeah, I would say it kind of started initially when I was a kid taking dance. I would say, a very embodied. I think most of us are very embodied when we're children, very aware. And I always felt that connection between like when I dance and being able to like process my emotions and stuff. Fast forward 20 years, and I start going to therapy because my father passed away and I just needed some additional support. And I was just really fortunate that my therapist was someone who uh, would ask questions like, where do you feel it in your body? Like, he was very aware of just the psychosomatic connection. And that was really the slippery slope that then got me interested in exploring embodiment more and breath work. And then I became a breathwork facilitator. And that all happened in my early 30s. And I just started to realize what critical information this was that I was just learning, like basically halfway through my life, And I was just thinking about how I wish that I had access to this knowledge and these tools when I was younger, like going through hard things. Like, I don't know, applying for college was really stressful for me in college, like, or my early 20s, entering the workforce. And I just kept on thinking, why are we not teaching our youth these tools? I think of how much easier life would be for everyone if we were a society walking around that understood our emotions and the connections to our body, and if we were in an empowered place of being able to work with them. And so that's really how I got there, is I just felt like this was such a need and like our society was lacking it so much. And so I became a breathwork facilitator, and I talk about it with anyone that will listen. No.
Well, tell me why you feel breath work is such a potent practice for people. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that breathwork, even more than embodiment, is a really powerful practice because they're both really very powerful. But I've noticed that when people try to do embodiment, they kind of get up in their head a little bit more. Like, am I doing this right? Do I look weird? And that can just be a really big hindrance to them actually really being able to tap into like the full power of that tool. But breath work, especially, you're pretty much just lying down and breathing in a different breathing pattern than you're used to, which it's a little bit awkward. There is some learning curve to that. But once people drop into it, like, after the first 5 minutes, I've just seen people have such huge experiences that have given them so much peace, released so much stress. And so I just think that our breath is the first thing that we do when we come to life. It's the last thing that we do when we exit this life. And it is a tool that is always accessible to us. You might not always be able to get up and move and shake and dance, but even if you're at the office, if something stressful is happening, you can tap into your breath. And that's not necessarily breath work, but it is still using the tool of your breath to monitor your emotions and to help yourself like move through difficult situations. And so I think really for the amount of effort that has to go into breath work and the amount that people get out of it, people just, it's so worth it. People experience really big shifts in their lives, and they are just able to tap into a version of themselves much easier using breath work, and a version of themselves that is, I don't want to say like better, but like a version that's more calm or less stressed or more grounded or more clear, because we always have so many different influences that are always coming at us. And a lot of times people can just feel paralyzed or just not know what to do. So with breath, I just feel like people are able to access that really authentic version of themselves that we're always desiring to connect with in a really easy way.
Awesome. Well, your workshop inside the membership is fantastic. And thank you for being our first guest teacher. That was
It's my honor.
totally awesome. And, you know, my honor as well, and my pleasure. So let's talk about your ancestral healing journey. So, what can you share with our viewers about what that's been like for you so far?
I think that a lot of the healing that I've been doing in terms of my ancestry has been pretty recent wounds that came up, especially with the revolution and the war that happened in Iran in like the late 70s, early 80s. I think that being an immigrant is inherently traumatizing.
Hmm.
I have a lot of respect for people who are immigrants, but I think that being separated from everyone you know and everything that you know is a shock to the system. And so I think that I received a lot of that, especially being the firstborn. Um, I've always just been so aware of that, and that we kind of came from somewhere else. A lot of it has to do with acceptance. A lot of it has to do with fitting in. And also there's just this like immigrant drive of like, you have to work so hard and, you never get to rest. And I have a lot of that in me as well, that my parents, they meant it for the best when they were trying to like teach me better. But, I think that I really internalized it in a way that hasn't been super helpful for me. So that's the most immediate stuff. And then if you go back, I think that there is some healing in my ancestry, especially on the female side, probably around access to money.
Hmm.
And I think that that comes from just, the way that society was established back then. Like, men did the working, women were the housewives. And if you wanted money, you had to access it through your male, kind of superiors. Those are the themes that I've been touching on personally in my ancestral healing.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I think that it helps people who are new to this work to hear, you know, different stories, right? Because everybody's individual journey is unique to them. So I think it's really helpful to hear details you can share. So, what have been the biggest challenges for you in terms of these cycles that you're breaking?
I think that the biggest challenge is really being in a reality where you're constantly getting feedback that wants to reinforce some of these inherited and learned practices, and then seeing that in your reality, constantly getting that feedback, but then internally knowing in such a deep, real way and feeling that it just doesn't feel right. Like just basically being gaslit by reality that like it
Mhm.
has to be this way, or this is the only way, or this is the right way, or the better way. And internally, you're like, yeah, I see that that is a way. It's not feeling like the best way for me. And then the harder part, I think, is trying to come up with the solution to that. Like, okay, so what is? Like, if it's not this, then what? And then that is just such a deep exploration process. And I think it's so personal to everyone. For me, it's I got a major in a certain degree, but I'm not working in that. And then now it's like I want to be teaching breath work. And then in society, we're always being, you see people, they're like, go, 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 and they're grinding. And as a breathwork facilitator, your number one thing is you're like, slow down, like listen to yourself and just see. Yeah, that's really is the biggest thing for me is just this constant push pull between what I know internally and then also what I'm starting to experience externally versus what everyone around me is like, that's weird, or like, we're not doing that, or, and then just knowing I'm like, yeah, but I feel like it's just a matter of time before all of you kind of like experience that crossroads that I was at. And you're going to be looking for like other answers. And I've been seeing that more and more in my reality too, where I like stay on this path and I keep on talking about it. And then more and more people are like, you know what, Shayan, that actually sounds really good. Or like, you actually have a point. Or, people who before were really rejecting this kind of like new thought process or just like lifestyle that I was taking on, circling back years later, being like, yeah, you had it right. And so for me, it's this internal, external battle between what I know and then what people say. And I can be a people pleaser. I want to be a good girl. I've been taught to like, listen and stuff. So letting go of all that.
Thank you. So helpful to hear your take on ancestral healing work. Well, so let's shift gears a little bit because the Astro Ancestral Healing Collective engages with astrology as a language and a framework for empowering ourselves as energetic beings, as vessels of divine energy. And so, do you know your sun, moon, and rising sign by any
Yes.
chance? Do you mind
Yes.
sharing them with our community?
No, not at all. Do you do Vedic or Western, by the way?
Western.
Okay. Yeah. So Western, which is the one that I usually go by, I'm Aquarius sun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Taurus moon and I'm a Cancer rising.
Okay, so look at you. You've got air, earth, and water in your big
Mm-hmm.
three. So that's nice and balanced.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, so it doesn't surprise me at all that you are an Aquarius sun. You are brilliant. You are a visionary and you're on the leading edge, right? In terms of, being a breathwork facilitator and sharing this holistic healing practice. So that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's something about the Aquarius growth journey where you can have these visions that are so far out. There's a process, I think, where you realize that you have to somehow make your visions accessible to people who are not as forward thinking as you
Mm-hmm.
are in order to make them relatable and accessible to people. Can you speak to that at all? You've mentioned like a little bit of that, but what's that been like
Yeah.
for you?
Oh, you just like hit that nail on the head so dead on. As an Aquarius and as a person who has really big visions, I'm sometimes, I think, literally hundreds of years ahead because of how clearly I'm like, oh, but if we just da 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 da, then all the problems will be solved. And anyway, so with breathwork specifically, one thing that I have really noticed is astrology has been coming back stronger. People are paying attention to it more. There's things like human design. I don't know what to call these. I don't want to call them necessarily spiritual practices because they're not, but they kind of get lumped along with breathwork and embodiment. All of these things kind of get lumped under this sort of new age spirituality thing, which I resent because I don't agree that that is the appropriate label for them. But with that, there's a lot of just kind of regular people that are like, well, I'm not a woo woo hippie spiritual crystals in my bra, what bra, type of a person. And breathwork isn't for me. And so I've noticed that it creates this, what do you call it? Like a inaccessibility. It creates a barrier to entry for people because they're like, I don't identify with that archetype of that kind of a
Mhm.
person. I'm just a normal person. I just work a 9 to 5. I'm just trying to like make my bread. And like, what I've noticed is with breathwork, I've started telling people if you are a human with a body in 2024, then you can use breath work because it is not just a spiritual experience. It helps you with stress. It helps lower your cortisol. There's actual medical studies being done on how breath actually can physically and psychologically help people. And so that has been what I do. Okay, let's not focus on all of like the spiritual stuff, which yes, a lot of that can happen in breath where people for sure launch into like different dimensions and ancestors come through. Yes. And that doesn't happen for everyone, but there's still physical and mental and emotional benefits to breath work in a very tangible, undeniable way. That is what I try to emphasize with people and to kind of like bring it down a few notches so that it's more accepted.
I love it. So, for those who are unfamiliar with the significance of your sun signs, this is where the sun was the day you were born, and it's where you shine from a 3D perspective. And it is the special sauce that you mix into everything that you do. So, Aquarius is, like we said, very visionary, futuristic, avant garde, and also very much a humanitarian. And what I love about exploring this spectrum of psycho-spiritual energy is that it really invites us into this question of how can I balance my need to individually express my authentic self, my unique energetic signature. How do I do that and balance the needs of the collective? How can I express myself authentically and be part of this beautiful group? Right? Like that's the question it invites us into, which I think is awesome right now. I think that we're
Mm-hmm.
all doing this collectively, Sage Aquarius. So you said you are a Cancer rising. So your rising sign in life path astrology, which is what I was trained in, is your perception of reality. It's the vessel for your divine mission. And it's also how the people that you're meant to serve, it's how they see you. So, as a Cancer rising, this is cardinal water, and water is your emotions and your feelings and your sentiments. You're very psychic. You are very intuitive, and Cancer is ruled by the moon, and it's just a very, very loving energy. It's very nurturing. Um, And what I've found is that Cancer can be the emotional archivist of the family sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom's a Cancer sun. So I love that you have all of this air, right? All of these visions. You're very forward thinking. And then you're also emotional, right? And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
nurturing and loving. And then you've got this Taurus moon, which is so earthy. So Taurus is fixed earth, and earth is what we use to build the structures that give us stability and security in our lives. And the moon is our emotions and our ancestral wounds, and also what we are responsible for giving ourselves in order to feel balanced and at home in our own energy. And what I've found is that folks with a Taurus moon, they really need to feel safe in order to get in touch with their emotions or to express. Would you say that resonates with you? What's your Taurus moon
I think,
experience so
yeah,
far?
my Taurus moon, I really feel it more in terms of having some of those creature comforts. I
Mm-hmm.
sometimes actually do even get really attached to like material things. Like
Mm-hmm.
if something breaks or if something gets lost, the way that I get sad about it is almost childish. It's just that Taurus moon where I can't believe my brother's just gone forever. And it's like, girl, it's okay. And I have to walk myself through it. But yeah, also having that safety of stacking money, of having housing secured, of having very comfortable living. I don't care where I am. I will make it look pretty and feel comfortable for me to be in it. I don't care if it's just for a month or whatever. I'm here for a month and I want to enjoy that month. So that's where my Taurus moon comes in. And then my Cancer, it's just so interesting how they all really play off of each other. The Cancer is the maternal side. A lot of my clients, a lot of times are like, we just feel so comfortable with you. We just can open up. And the emotional part as well. Like, it's interesting to me that like Aquarius is a water bearer and then Cancer is like a water sign. So I kind of feel like they sort of, one kind of holds the other. But I noticed this clarity and this directness of the Aquarius where honestly, sometimes people are like, is this chick on the spectrum because of like how blunt she can be?
Right.
Because I see it. And so I just say it as it is. But at the other side, though, I am this Cancer rising and I'm so attuned to emotions. And so I can like read the emotions, but then sometimes I'm like, I know that this is going to hurt, but like, I have to say this thing so that you get it. And so it's this constant balance between me. Am I going to like tiptoe around the emotions or am I going to like say the thing how it is? And then thank God for the Taurus moon because I honestly feel like Cancer and Aquarius are like kind of extreme. I feel that way. Like, so I feel like that Taurus moon helps to just kind of chill things out a little bit, ground them. I know that Cancer and Aquarius are not technically opposites, but they feel like MFing opposites to me.
Yeah,
like
they're so different.
I've dated a Cancer before. I will never do that again. I mean, I won't because I'm married, but like I would not recommend that for any Aquarius. Do not date a Cancer for the love of everything.
Well,
Yeah.
congratulations on your recent marriage. I'm so
Thank you.
happy for you.
You too.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been an interesting ride, but yeah, it's awesome that you and I are both celebrating meeting our divine partners around the same time. So that's awesome. Well, okay, what else did I want to talk about astrology wise? Because, I'm obsessed and
Me
I love
too.
reading charts so much. Well, okay, so with this Taurus moon, so you mentioned like wanting to beautify your space, even if you are in that environment for a short period of time, like that makes you feel good. So that makes a lot of sense because Venus, the goddess of love, money, and pleasure, is the planetary ruler of Taurus. So yeah, you want to create beauty. You want to be in a beautiful space, in a beautiful environment. So that's awesome. Well, so what else do you do to take care of your Taurus moon?
What I eat. I think that my diet is very Taurus moon. I've heard that they're really into savory things, and I really am. I don't have much of a sweet tooth, but like chips, pickles, things like that. But like, I lean in. I do not skip on what I eat. So I kind of am indulgent in that way, a bit of a hedonist even. I would say I have some hedonistic qualities. So just like leaning into the comfort, beautifying, eating what I like, also just very much being outside and in nature, breathing good air, sitting out in the sun, grounding on the earth, literally earthing. That all I feel takes care of the Taurus moon. And if I'm correct about like a moon sign, Heather, could you just clarify that is how you process your own feelings?
Yeah, it's very internal. It's your private energy, but it's your emotions and ancestral wounds. Yes.
Yeah. So I think, Taurus is also known for a bit of luxury. I wouldn't say that I'm overindulgent. If you look at me, it's like, okay, she has a normal amount of clothes in her closet, but they're nice clothes, it's good quality. So I think that in those ways, internally, when I'm making those decisions, I would rather buy fewer clothes, but buy good quality because it just feels better for me when I'm wearing it. And it might look the same to anyone else on the exterior, but I know that. And so just letting myself do that and not making it be wrong. And also trying to keep her in check because, if I don't, she could go off. But
I know, buy those 1,500 thread count sheets. Right. Yes. Taurus
Exactly.
loves to luxuriate and enjoys all those creature comforts, as you mentioned. All of the yummy food, all of the cozy, high quality fabrics with your clothes and your bed linens and the good stuff. Taurus likes the good stuff.
Yeah, it feels like the most human part of my chart for me, like, because like the Aquarius, she's an alien.
Yeah.
And then like the Cancer, I don't know, when I think of Cancer, it's also somehow like inhuman to me. I'm like, it's just like a mush of like emotions and feelings. But like the Taurus, it's just so tangible.
Yeah.
It's good food, yeah, good thread count. Let's go outside. It just feels like the most human side of my chart, honestly. And so I appreciate her.
That's awesome. That's great. Well,
Mhm.
so, okay, going back to this amazing workshop that you recorded
Mm.
for us that's in our resource library, what would you tell people who are interested in experiencing this to do to be prepared to get the best experience?
Well, just be open. Just be open to the fact that you don't know everything that maybe you thought you did, that there's a lot out there that is still ongoing in the field of psychology and medicine. And that your body is just so much more intelligent than what you've probably been given it credit for, as most of us have just been taught in school. If you've received a regular, quote unquote, education, you probably understand biology, you probably understand a little bit of chemistry, your hormones and stuff. But then once you really go into learning more about psychosomatics, everyone always talks about the book, The Body Keeps the Score. That's a good
Hmm.
place to start. There's some critiques of that as well. I think that that's just healthy. But there's a lot to learn there in terms of how we hold our traumas in our bodies. If anyone has done yoga, you've probably been to a yoga class where they'll do a hip opener and then the yoga teacher will say something like, oh, well, you might start to feel emotional in this pose because we hold our emotions in our hips, and you might not have known what the heck they were talking about. That's what breath work and what this workshop really does for you. It really helps you identify the ways that you hold emotions in your body and how you can activate your emotions with your body, like different postures, different movements, and how you can actually work through triggers, traumas that you've been holding in your body, not just through doing talk therapy. That's great too. Like, let's do talk therapy, let's process everything. But at a certain point, you might notice that you're hitting a wall. And then with an embodiment practice like breath work or movement or something, you can actually break through that wall where you're like, I just feel like I'm in a rut. And then you do this embodiment thing and the flood of emotions gets released, or you remember things that you hadn't remembered before. And you're like, oh my God, I've just been holding all this somewhere. And then it gives you so much more to work with, and it gives you so much more that you can digest and just learn about yourself. So, um, yeah, I would say just go in being open and realizing that when you do an embodiment practice like breathwork or movement, it's like going into a cave where you don't know what you're going to find in there. And then whatever you do find, just accept it, be open to it, and receive it fully. Because if you're committed to doing this work, that's what it is. It's not predictable. It's not going to be cute. You're not going to be like, I'm going to work on this now. Your body might be like, no, I have some other stuff that I've been holding on to that is really important. I need you to work on this first. And it might be hard and you might need to slow down, but sticking with it and just receiving it is just going to be the best thing.
It's so good. If you all are interested in experiencing Cheyenne's workshop, go to heatherrebeccawilson.com and join the Ancestral Healing Collective. You will get access to this workshop, which you can watch over and over again if you feel so inclined. And then you also get access to many, many other cool workshops as well. So, again, this was our first workshop in May of 2023, and that was over a year ago.
Mhm.
So, what are you working on now that you're excited about? Give us some update.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still working on the breathwork stuff. I really want to start to bring it to bigger scale applications of it. I would love to start to work with corporations, doing like team retreats or bringing it into schools, for kids, maybe like before nap time or after nap time or something.
Mm-hmm.
I love working one on one, and I still am doing that with folks. I really love getting in the nitty gritty with people, creating like custom breathwork sessions that are very specific to like what they're navigating through in life. Like, I work a lot with mothers. I work a lot with people that are just like making really big transitions in life, whatever that might be. Maybe it's like a new career, maybe it's getting married, but it's a big decision, and they need just a little bit of help to like bridge this jump, that they're taking. And then also people that are just kind of burnt out I love working with people that just need to focus a little bit on self-care. And so I love doing that one-on-one, but then also I just know that the power of this practice is so strong. And so I have worked with some corporations. I would love to do more with larger groups because I think that so much of our work, yes, it is individual, like heal yourself, but a lot of it is also as a collective. And I don't see that happening so much yet. People are doing a lot of like therapy one-on-one, which is good. But I think that the next step from that, like 200 years down the line, it's going to be people doing healing in collaboration and in the community, because I think ultimately we are all making that return back to more collective, less individualistic. Bringing people together with breath is one of the most, you just feel so bonded and so connected with them in this really magical way. I don't have another way to describe it. You just feel connected with them in a really special way. And I would love to be able to bring that to people more, because I think we're overly isolated. And I think that's a part of my mission as well, is to put an end to that extreme isolation and to bring people back together.
That's so beautiful. I love it. Yes, we are too isolated for sure. My goodness. Okay, so this is the Cycle Starters podcast, as you know. So before we wrap, I want to hear from you. What are the new cycles that you are starting in your lineage?
Well, I'm definitely starting an entrepreneurial cycle. Everyone, I think, before me mostly was work for someone else type, be an employee. So I would say that, you know, being someone who takes a chance on themselves in a way that they haven't seen before, that's one way for sure. Another way, well, I would say I'm carrying on the torch of being an immigrant. Like my parents did that. I did that for a while. I'm now back in the United States. Well, everyone that came before me was like a very hard worker. I'm a hard worker too, but I think I believe very much in this work-life balance of you're only here for a little while. And so giving yourself, that opportunity to to be able to enjoy things every step of the way. And that's not to say that everything always has to be fun, but there's so many dualities possible at the same time. When I was younger, I just used to think that if one thing went bad, I've had a bad day, it's all going bad. But then as I've gotten older, I've really started to realize that thing can be bad and I can have 3 other good things going on. So really leaning into just how complicated we are as humans. So I even help my mom do that. Like my mom sometimes also, I notice her being a little bit one-dimensional. I'm like, you can breathe some life into your multitudes right now. And so I've done that. I'm helping my mom do that. I've seen my sister start to do that after me. So I would say that that's a really big one that I've started to do.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
See, I love what you just shared, because I think the misunderstanding or the misperception of women taking care of themselves is selfish, right? But the truth is that when we make sure our cups are full, actually we lift everyone else up around us, whether that's our partners or close family, friends, or whatnot. Sometimes when we take care of ourselves, people fall off. That does happen too. But, there's a ripple effect regardless when we do this work. So all of the practices you're doing to take care of yourself, you can share them with your mom. And then your sister just started doing them without, poking or prodding her. She just picked up the vibe. So it's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Well, if people want to know more about you, or if they want to work with you, where should they go?
They can find me on Instagram or on TikTok. My handle is just Shayan.Saghari. And those are the best ways to get in touch, honestly, right now. I do have a website. It's currently being renovated. Email is just hello@Shayan Saghari. So if that's your preferred method, if you don't do social media, that's a great way to get in touch too. And we can just discuss what it is that you're desiring and see if I can support and just take it from there.
Awesome. Sis, I love you. Thank you for saying yes to this interview. It's so nice.
So easy to say yes to you.
Oh my gosh, you're awesome. No, I love seeing your face. I love hearing your voice. And, this has been awesome to get a chance to reconnect. And I'm hoping that we can reconnect in person sometime soon, now that you're back in the States. So thank you so much. We will have you here again, no doubt.
I can't wait. It's always just such a pleasure. Thank you for the thought-provoking questions and also for doing this podcast. I'm so excited about it.
Oh, you're awesome. Thank you. I received that. All right. So that's it for this episode of the Cycle Starters podcast. We'll see you next time, everybody. All right. Bye.
Bye.